Before the first ship ever touched the water, before men learned the language of sails and storms, there was Njord, Lord of the Sea, God of every wind that swept the northern world. He was born of the Vanir, the elder gods of peace, fertility, and prosperity. But his heart was forged in the heart of the ocean. Njord's hall was Noatun, the place of ships, a shining sanctuary built where land meets the endless tide. Its walls were made of driftwood and seashells. Its roof glistened with pearls gathered from the deep. The very air shimmered with the sound of waves whispering stories to the wind. There, gulls circled in lazy arcs, and the breeze carried the smell of salt, life, and freedom. Njord was no stormbringer like Thor, nor a wrathful god like Odin. He was the balance, the calm before the storm, the steady breath between crashing waves. When sailors prayed before venturing out into uncertain seas, they whispered his name, Njord, guide us home. It was said that Njord could calm a tempest simply by exhaling, or lead a lost ship home with a single word carried by the wind. He loved the sea deeply, its mystery, its strength, and its freedom. For Njord, the ocean was not chaos, it was home. But peace does not come easily, even to gods. Long ago, before Asgard and Vanaheim were allies, the Aesir and the Vanir waged war, a brutal clash between two pantheons. For years the sky bled fire, and the rivers ran gold with divine power. But neither side could win, and so they swore peace through an ancient custom, an exchange of gods to live among each other. From the Vanir came Njord and his twin children, Frey and Freya, to dwell among the Aesir in Asgard. The Aesir welcomed him with honor, yet even surrounded by golden halls and endless feasts, Njord's heart remained restless. He would stand at the edge of Asgard's walls, staring toward the distant horizon where the sea called to him, softly, endlessly, like the voice of an old friend. It was during this time that a shadow crossed Asgard's gates, a towering figure wrapped in furs and frost. She was Skadi, daughter of the slain giant Thiazi. Her father had been killed by the gods, and she came to demand vengeance. But Odin, wise even in conflict, offered her peace instead. He said, "Let the blood between us be washed away. Choose one among us as your husband, and your anger will turn to alliance." Skadi agreed, but only on one strange condition. She would choose her husband by looking only at his feet. The gods laughed, but Odin consented, and the gods stood in line. Skadi walked before them, her eyes fixed on the ground, searching for the most beautiful feet among them, believing they would belong to Balder, the most handsome of all gods. But when she pointed and the veil was lifted, it was Njord, not Balder, who stood before her. The sea god's feet were smooth and clean, washed forever by the tide. Skadi's eyes lifted to meet his, and for a heartbeat, winter and water met. She smiled faintly. "Then it shall be you." Their union was celebrated by all, the sea god and the snow maiden, a marriage of elements, a bridge between frost and foam. At first, they tried to love each other's worlds. Skadi led Njord to her home in the mountains. Thrymheim, Thunder Home. The air there was sharp and pure, and the peaks cut the sky like spears of silver. But Njord could not sleep. All night the wolves howled in the distance, and the cold crept into his bones. At last he said, "I hate these mountains, Skadi. The wolves keep me awake, and I long for the song of the swans that rest by the shore." So they traveled to Noatun, Njord's realm by the sea. There waves rolled against the rocks, and the cries of gulls filled the dawn. But now it was Skadi who could not rest. "The gulls scream all night, and I cannot sleep for the sound of the sea," she said softly. And so they made a pact, 9 nights in Noatun, 9 in Thrymheim. But even the gods cannot change their nature. Skadi belonged to the cold stars and silent snow. Njord belonged to the living tide and the voice of the wind. In time they parted, not in anger, but in understanding. "We are of two worlds," said Njord, "and neither can live where the other breathes." Skadi smiled sadly. "Yet when the snow falls on the sea, perhaps we will meet again, between the frost and the foam." Njord returned to his hall by the waves, but something had changed within him. Each morning he stood upon the shore, the wind playing with his hair like invisible hands, and he would stare at the horizon, waiting for a shape that never appeared. Yet the world still needed him. When fishermen prayed for fair weather, he listened. When sailors were lost in the storm, he sent gulls to guide them home. They carved his name on their ships, believing that Njord's blessing would keep the sea gentle. But sometimes, when grief stirred in his heart, the skies would darken. The calm waters would rise and storms would rage across the north. The sailors would whisper, "The god of the sea mourns tonight." And then, when the rage had passed, the seas would grow still again, and a strange peace would settle over the waters. As the centuries turned, Njord became one with the tides themselves. When the dawn glows gold over calm waters, the Norse say it is Njord's smile upon the sea. When storms roar without mercy, they say the sea god's heart aches for Skadi, and his sorrow has become the wind. Even now in the far north, when the sky dances with green and violet light, the old ones whisper, "That is Skadi looking toward the sea." And Njord answers, not in words but in waves that rise and fall again and again, a rhythm older than time itself. For love may fade, but the sea endures. And Njord, Lord of the tides and winds, endures with it, calm, eternal, free. The tale of Njord and Skadi reminds us that even gods cannot hold what was never meant to stay. For love, like the sea, must flow free. If this myth stirred your heart, like, subscribe, and sail with us again, where gods whisper through the wind and the old stories rise once more from the deep.